and that's based on our technology, but what if their technology that's broadcasting is far more powerful and it could be picked up by your local neighborhood antenna? They're broadcasting an analog signal. They haven't moved to digital, and we've detected it coming towards this planet. And the step was the United Nations saying, listen, there's one of two things that are going to happen. One day, people around the world are going to turn on their televisions, and they're going to begin receiving these transmissions from an alien race, or we just take all of our analog towers offline, and everyone has to do digital. So those waves just pass right through the planet, and we never know that they came. Now, there are still low-power analog antennas in some countries. There are still things like ham radio operators, CB radios, and things like that. But there's a big difference between having, say, 5 billion people watching a signal and 1% of them actually getting enough clarity of what the image looks like to be able to make a determination like something's really wrong here, versus 500 million people on their ham radios, low power antennas, CB radios, what have you, and 1% of them picking up that signal. It's a lot easier to hide if you just say, oh, no, that was just some glitch. But if some guy's just working on his ham radio and one day he picks up, he may log it as something weird, he may record it, but that's a lot easier to dispute than the population of the world picking that up. Because here's the thing, when we talk about aliens, we imagine them to be, you have the fictional aliens where they have their ships, they fly around, they blow stuff up. And then you have the aliens that people say exist, like gray aliens or reptilians or the blonde white people, what are they called? Illuminarians or something. The Pleiadians. And they seem to be, the reptilians are supposedly evil, but it's a very, antiseptic evil. It's a very, human evil. But imagine getting a broadcast from an alien planet. Imagine if an alien planet saw the Nuremberg rallies, or an alien planet saw news footage of the Vietnam War. Could you even imagine the horrors that could come from an alien planet of their broadcasts? We always see the Greys as kind of just walking around their ship, kind of tooling around with instruments, or the Reptilians, kind of like V, where they're kind of like this regal enemy that eat people, but then they also walk on two legs and stuff like that, and they shapeshift and all that type of stuff. But what if we saw a television broadcast, a true television broadcast from an alien planet? What type of evil and filth and truly, it's alien. Our brains, even a reptilian, is familiar to us. But something from another planet that is evolved along a completely different path that shares none of our DNA, just like I was talking about on the previous segment, can you imagine something that you can't imagine, that you have no concept for? That's what it would be like to see an alien broadcast. Like individuals in a crowd, some sort of narrative, some sort of character. We wouldn't. You would see an alien broadcast and it would just fill you with revulsion because it is something that is so unnatural for a human to see. You can show me a video of Greys dissecting a human being. You can show me a video of a reptilian eating somebody. Those are still familiar things because I've seen things be devoured and I've seen dissections in science class. But imagine seeing something alien, doing something alien to another alien thing. It would be the definition of H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu-level horror. Even if on their planet it was something completely mundane, to us it would be so disturbing. On their planet it could be the equivalent of a sitcom, but to us we would see nothing but pure horror in it. Because what we're experiencing, what we're seeing and hearing is truly incomprehensible to us. It is on another planet with another life form, another culture, another language, you could go, could you even see that they were talking to each other? Or would it just be horror upon horror upon horror, imagery and sound that was coming from this alien planet? Whether or not they would ever reach us wouldn't matter. But if we got this alien broadcast and we saw these incomprehensible, inhuman things, it would fill us with such dread we would never want to go out. We would never want to see what's out there. Because we would know that the universe isn't full of life like us, with 2 arms and 2 legs and brains and eyes, and they have power struggles and they're fighting for control of Earth, and the reptilians are over here, and the Greys are here, and the Conformers are here, and the Pleiadians are here, and they have these structures. You have the Starship Athena, you have all this stuff, 2012, Antarctica ice bases. All these things are human concepts. We see the universe in a very Star Trek, Star Wars type of way, where you could go to a bar and sit next to an alien and not throw up because he's so gross and the smell of him is so toxic because he has a different evolutionary path on a different planet that you've never been to. We see it, it'll be like, hey Spock. Spock would stink like a mofo. Spock would be the most disgusting person you could, well maybe not Spock because he's half human, but you know what I mean? Like you would have these, well, you wouldn't be able to bang another alien, but you would have these huge differences. It's just like we do it here when we build a robot that looks too human, or we make CGI that looks too human. It's called the uncanny valley. It makes us sick. Times that by 1,000, and you have what it would be like to look at an alien broadcast. So is that why we went dark? Not to hide us from them, but to hide them from us. Because if we knew what was truly out there in the darkness of space, forget the probes, forget SETI, forget sending these messages of recordings of Beethoven and pictures of a man and a woman, that would all be done in an instant. And humanity would be that kid in a forest, surrounded by wolves, and just trying to close their eyes and hope that they are never found. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be your email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. Twitter is @JasonOCarpenter. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today. Have a great week, guys. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio Classics, where we take a look at an older episode with a new intro. This one, episode 287. This is probably one of my most well-received episodes. It really kind of combined the stuff that I like to do. One, I like to have 3 stories per episode. I know some of you guys like the deeper dive, but I actually prefer doing more stories per episode because I just have so much content to cover. So I really like this one for that reason. And it's an incredibly obscure UFO story, and it's funny. I think that's the combination of things that I like in an episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. There's some stories that are obscure and they're a little more serious, and those are fine too. But when I can hit all 3 things, when I can tell 3 short stories pretty well, when I can find something super obscure that nobody's ever heard about, and do it in an entertaining way, I love this episode. This actually, what happened was Caleb, he's one of our newest Patreon supporters, he said this was his favorite episode, and I was like, that episode was pretty good. So when I was getting ready to do this week, we decided to go with this one. So if you haven't heard this episode yet, be prepared for one of the most bizarre alien encounters ever. If every alien invasion was like this, come on down today, aliens. I can do these invasions all day long. And if you have heard this episode, I hope you stick around to enjoy, once again, episode 287, the weirdest alien invasion ever, the Casablanca case. A beautiful bandit, a mysterious family, and a UFO story so bizarre, even veteran UFOologists have a hard time believing it. What happened in 1955 in a sleepy little town in California? Were they invaded by aliens only children could see? Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you guys are having a great day too. It's actually only about 2 hours since I finished the last podcast. Most of you guys know I work 3 jobs. Every so often, someone has to take a vacation at one of the jobs and I cover for them. It's once in a blue moon, but starting this week into next week and a little bit of the week after, every single day. So I'm trying to get these episodes out when I can get them out. And that's one of the good things about doing a solo podcast. I just want to get them out once a day for you guys. So if anything absolutely earth-shattering has happened from the time I'm recording this to the time you hear it, it's not because I ignored it. Didn't know it happened yet. I'm recording this at 11 o'clock at night. But let's go ahead and jump right into this one. I'll keep my energy level up for you. I'm drinking my Diet Mountain Dew. Choice of a generation. So, hop on board. Let's use the Jason Jalopy. So throw your bags in the back. This is going to be a long journey. We'll bring a sleeping bag, some popcorn. I don't know why popcorn. Bring food, was what I'm saying. Bring yourself some food, some delicious beverages from PepsiCo only, because they sponsor the show. No Coke, no Mr. Pibb, no Dr. Pepper either. That's just disgusting. Prune juice flavored soda. Get in the car. And also, they don't sponsor us for legal reasons. That was a joke. We're driving down the road. Beep, beep. Keep your hand off the horn. Only I can press the horn. Driving on the road. And we're pulling up to Sugar Land, Texas. This just happened August 23rd, 2019. So this happened on Friday, last Friday. It's 8:25. The darkest time of night when all the spooky stuff happens. 8:25 is quite early for this type of activity. We're parked across the street in our Jason Jalopy, eating. You brought snacks, I'm eating them too. You're like, Jason? I'm like, I thought you were on keto. I'm like, I'm taking a break. Doritos. So as I'm swelling up, as I'm gaining 10 pounds of water weight from just eating one Dorito, we're looking across the street and there's a place, there's like a parking lot, and we see this hot woman hops out of the car. And you're like, Jason, you have to objectify her? Yes, I do, because that's the point of this story. Now, give me some more Doritos. We see this hot woman hop out of the car. Blonde hair, pink blouse, yoga pants. You're like, Jason, you're taking a look. Hold on. This is important for the story. And also, it's not just my fantasy. This is on surveillance video. Hot blonde hops out of the car, hair blowing in the wind. Bead of sweat moving down her chest. No, so anyways, we see on surveillance video this blonde woman gets out of her Mercedes SUV, walks over to a building, tries opening the door, goes back to her SUV, gets a portable power saw, and begins cutting through the window because she's breaking into the Botox RN MD Spa. There's a place where they injected Botox into people's faces. It makes your face all tight, gets rid of the wrinkles. She cut her way in and stole a bunch of Botox, and then gets in her Mercedes SUV, just drives away. They don't know who it is. They have no suspects. She's not wearing a mask. She's just walking up in her pink blouse. She looks like she just got done picking up the kids. Or, hey, I'm not going to be sexist. Maybe she just got done buying a business. Maybe she's a CEO. I don't know. Maybe she's president of the United States, Jason. Don't be sexist. So, nobody knows who this woman is. But anyways, she gets in her car and she drives away. Now, I will say this, though. Police of Sugar Land, Texas. My personal, if I was a cop, I would just look for women who look permanently surprised. Their eyebrows are all lifted. No wrinkles. I'd be like, where were you Friday night? She's like, no emotion on her face. Actually, she'd be really good in an interrogation room because you wouldn't be able to read her face. It would be full of a deadly disease. And she shows no emotions. Just constantly looks like she's in shock. I'm arrested versus hello? I guess your voice doesn't change. Anyways, so be on the lookout, residents of Sugar Land, Texas. An attractive woman may actually have a face, like her entire body at this point is just 90% Botox, and she's coming for you. Let's go ahead and move on to our next story. Hop back in the Jason Jalopy. We are driving to a place that was recommended to me by Andrew. Andrew via Gmail sent me this recommendation. We are going to Yucca Ipaw, California. So we're going there. We'll just call it the Big U. We're going to the Big U out in California. I'm driving up. Now, actually, it's perfect we're in the Jason Jalopy for this story, because this story requires you to be in a car. So we stopped at that gas station. You bought some beef jerky, right? Okay, awesome. You're like, Jason, you have a Patreon now. You can afford your own food. I was like, I'm putting the gas in, man. So anyways, we drive up. to outside of this house. There's a specific house in the Big U, Ukapaya. And it's an urban legend come true. Video proof of this house. And what happened was,